Before I jump into the main topic of this video, I feel like I have to comment on the tragedy that took place this weekend, namely the terrorist attacks that took place in France, beginning Friday evening, I believe. Just a terrible situation and something that just horribly tragic. And I know when things like this happen, you just kind of go, the world just doesn't make sense when things like this happen. It's just truly terrible, truly horrific, and just completely senseless. But I also keep in mind that I've always believed, personally, that from all bad comes good. And I think the outpouring of love and support for the people of France during what is a very hard and difficult time, I think that's a very good thing. I think situations like this are a time for us as human beings to show the best of ourselves. And to show love and support when it's really needed. So obviously my thoughts and prayers go out to anybody that was affected by this horrible tragedy, and hopefully something like this, you hope that things like this will never happen again, but unfortunately there will always be evil in the world, no matter what. But I also, getting it back to wrestling a little bit, I read Friday evening that Jeremy Borash and the Bella Twins were all in Paris while this was going on, which immediately I was like, oh no, that could be bad. But fortunately, the three of them are okay, so that was good to hear. Hopefully we just we just do the best we can to deal with this horrible situation, and again, continue to show love and support, and just encourage people to be the best that they can be. And I don't really know. I don't consider myself any kind of an expert or anything in terms of dealing with something like this, but it's very hard, and situations like this, it's always like, they always leave me at a loss for words initially, because it's just, I don't understand why things like this need to happen. But in any case, that's all I have to say about that. And again, my love and support go out to anybody that was affected by this horrible tragedy. But getting into more lighter side, well, one more bad thing to cover, I have to get into. For the wrestling fans out there, wrestling legend Nick Bockwinkel passed away earlier today, I think. He was an older gentleman, but still, it's always sad to lose one of the legends. And Nick Bockwinkel was a guy that was before my time, obviously. I have seen clips of him, I've seen footage of him, and he was just one of those classic old-school type of wrestlers, a style that's really has gone out of style nowadays. But I did see his work in AWA, and I've seen bits and pieces here and there. I've seen his matches with Hulk Hogan. That was probably the first match I ever saw of Nick Bockwinkel's, were some of his matches with Hogan in the AWA. And those were some of Hogan's better matches in terms of being more technical, because obviously him and Bockwinkel are two completely different styles of wrestlers, so they had to work a very different type of match from what you would expect to see out of Hogan in the WWF. But their stuff in the AWA was really good, I thought. And again, nice clash of character, nice clash of styles, and really good stuff. And there's a lot of good old material on Nick Bockwinkel out there that you can check out. And of course, as a kid, I was first introduced to him as the commissioner of WCW. So to me, he was just a big authority figure, and I didn't even fully understand that he had this whole big wrestling career prior to being an authority figure for WCW. So, you go back and you do your research and you discover little gems here and there. You realize the guy had a pretty long and successful career, and he was a very talented dude. So, obviously, I want to send out my condolences to Nick Bockwinkel's family and friends, and as a fan, I want to say thank you for your good work, your great work within the wrestling business, and it's always sad to lose one of the legends, so definitely want to send my well wishes out there. But with all the bad stuff out of the way, there was one major wrestling topic I wanted to get into. Of course, there was a bunch of crazy stuff that happened this weekend. Ronda Rousey lost in a big way last night, which was shocking. I just got done watching the Giants lose to the Patriots in another crazy game. Do all of their games have to come down to the last minute? I mean, honest to God. But Giants played them better than I expected, because I thought the Giants... I stand by my comment. The Giants actually suck this year. They're first place in their division, but the division sucks. But they played them better than I expected, and maybe with the bye week next week, we can come back and hopefully, heal up a little bit and hopefully play better, because they looked a lot better today than they have in previous weeks. Because even in games where we've won, it's like it's Eli and the defense generating turnovers, but they can't. That's literally all the defense could do. Unfortunately, it's because they couldn't do anything else, but they do generate turnovers. But here they looked more complete, and they looked like a far more competent team. So that was good. That was good to see, especially heading into the bye week. So, and Philly lost. Dallas, they've lost 7 in a row, and yet I'm sure I'm still going to tune into ESPN and hear, Romo's coming back, and they're going to run the table and make it to the Super Bowl, because that's entirely plausible. I mean, and granted, there is a chance of that happening, but they talk about it like it's a certainty, and I'm like, no, it's not. no, it's really not. But, Washington won today in a big way. It's good for them. Some weeks Washington looks really, really good, but in any case, that's enough football for now. There's other things I could comment on. Peyton Manning, in the same game where he broke the all-time record for pass yards, got benched for throwing too many interceptions. That's just... Man, you don't want to see Peyton Manning diminish, but it's like, man, I think we're getting down to the end here with Peyton, and it's a shame. But football will be less of a sport without Peyton Manning in it. But it's probably it's getting close to time to probably hang it up for Peyton. But we'll see. But yeah, where was I going with this? Anyway, yeah, wrestling. I want to get into the wrestling side of things. Couple things going on in pro wrestling. Obviously, we've got Survivor Series coming up. Lucha Underground filmed their first episodes of Season 2 this weekend. I've avoided any and all spoilers because I do not want to have it spoiled for me, because I want to go into Season 2 of Lucha Underground just fully excited and fully prepared for whatever they dish out. And it's going to be fun and exciting. I'm sure I'll really like it. So I cannot wait for Lucha Underground to come back. It's going to be great. Now, the main topic at hand relates to the WWE, and particularly their build-up to Survivor Series and the ending to this previous week's episode of Monday Night Raw. What to say about this? Well, I will say that I did not like the ending to Monday Night Raw this past week. Really, really didn't like it, especially in terms of how it relates to building up to Survivor Series. And I really want that to be the main focus of the video, because it really highlights a kind of a writing problem that I see far too often in wrestling. The desire to send the fans home happy tends to override the long-term build of the story and negatively impacts the pay-per-view matches. And me, personally, as the audience, wanting to see the pay-per-view match. And I felt like this week's episode of Raw just presented a perfect example of talking about that and highlighting why I think that's a problem, the way they do things. But, yeah, for Survivor Series, it's basically confirmed that we're going to get Undertaker and Kane, the Brothers of Destruction, versus 2 members of the Wyatt family. Why it wouldn't be, because again, a lot of us were assuming it was going to be Undertaker, Kane, and 2 other partners versus the 4 members of the Wyatt family in a traditional Survivor Series match. Why they're not doing that, I don't know. That would have been more exciting, a little bit more cooler, would have taken full advantage and utilized the full scope of the Wyatt family stable, but whatever. I don't know. Maybe plans changed. I don't know. But I feel like it should have been built to a 4-on-4 Survivor Series match. They didn't do that. Fine, whatever. But anyway, that's their match. Undertaker and Kane versus Bray Wyatt, or 2 members of Bray Wyatt's clan, whoever that might be. Now, the problem in terms of how they built this up came up on Raw this week, where the Wyatts have been standing strong. They beat up Undertaker at the end of Hell in a Cell, and then the next night on Raw, they beat up Kane, and Bray Wyatt has basically been bragging about it ever since. He beat up Undertaker and Kane, he stole their souls, and now he has their power, blah, 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 all that other stuff. And initially the storyline was off to a good start. It was like, all right, the stable looks dominating, they look strong, nobody can fucking beat them. Undertaker got destroyed, Kane got destroyed, these 4 guys look fucking unstoppable. It's like Undertaker has to get like a full group together to be able to take him on at Survivor Series. And like I said, they didn't do that, but... and then I started asking all these questions like, well, okay, where did they take Undertaker? Where did they take Kane? What's he doing with them? They didn't really elaborate on it beyond just, he just took him backstage and did whatever, and then he came back on Raw saying that he took their powers, or I don't know. This feels like a storyline that would have been ripe for a Lucha Underground style cinematic cutscene, but we didn't get that. So we don't really know where Bray Wyatt took them, which is unfortunate, or what he did with them after he captured them. So that was the thing. But then on this week's episode of Raw, Bray Wyatt does the same thing where he comes out and says, he brags about beating up Undertaker and Kane and destroying their legacy, taking their powers or whatever, blah, 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 all that other stuff. And then Undertaker and Kane come out and proceed to beat the ever-living dog shit out of the Wyatt family and leaves, just, with ease. I mean, with relative ease. I think Strowman was the only one that got any kind of offense on them. But it just utterly destroyed them. And, of course, they stand tall, the fans cheer, and everybody goes home happy. Again, send the fans home happy instead of continuing the story. The problem in doing this ending the way that they did it, and they like I said, they do it a lot. It's not just this one instance, but... you had your storyline in place where the Wyatts were built up as unstoppable. And like I said, Undertaker's going to have to get a full team together to be able to take them on and take them down. And that leads into the Survivor Series match. And then you do whatever you do at Survivor Series. Either Undertaker goes over or the Wyatts go over, whatever. Whatever you're going to do, whatever your plan is. But you don't hurt the standing of the bad guys, the antagonists. You don't hurt their standing prior to the big pay-per-view match because they're the obstacle that needs to be overcome. You don't want them to look like chumps right before the pay-per-view match because it kills the drama. Because right off the bat, I was thinking, okay, the four Wyatts together, Undertaker can't stop him. He's no match for them. The four Wyatts together, Kane is no match for them. He's a fucking just a rag doll compared to them. So they're going to have to get two more partners to take them all on. By doing what they did on Raw, it's like, oh, so it just needed to be both of them to take on the four Wyatts, and then they completely destroyed them, and now what? I mean, do the Wyatts have to get two more guys to balance it out? It feels like the Wyatts need to get more guys. It puts them in the kind of the protagonist role where they have to overcome the odds of Undertaker and Kane when it should be the other way around. And like I said, they should have done it that way and preserve the unbeatable nature of the Wyatt family. Like they can't be beat, unless the odds are even. And even then, it's not a sure bet. So they just couldn't. They had been doing fairly well with the Wyatts lately. Strowman was a guy that was taking Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. I mean, that's 2/3 of the Shield, and he was throwing them around like rag dolls and looking really good. And like I said, the Wyatt family as a whole, they beat up Undertaker, they beat up Kane, and it was looking like okay. And to be fair, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe Reigns and Ambrose were supposed to be Undertaker and Kane's partners, but they had to scrap it because of the tournament, because of Seth Rollins' injury. No, because Reigns was in the title match already, so no. But maybe the tournament had something to do with them having to scrap the Survivor Series match because, they had to stick certain people into the tournament. So okay, I'll let that slide. Now that it just kind of clicked in my brain, and I thought about it. But even then, if you have to do a straight up tag match, I wouldn't have had Undertaker and Kane beat up the Wyatts at any point before the pay-per-view because you want to preserve, like I said, you want to preserve the mystique of the Wyatts and make them feel like they're unbeatable. And by doing what they did, they basically just told the whole world, like, oh, well, Undertaker and Kane can destroy them. It's like, all you need is the two of them, and they can kill all four of them. And it really hurts the 2-on-2 tag match, because now it's like, well, I just watched Undertaker and Kane knock the dog shit out of all four of them, and it's like, they should be able to beat two of them pretty easily, I would think, So it really kills the drama and really has a negative impact on the build-up to the pay-per-view match. And then they wonder why nobody cares about the pay-per-views anymore. That is one of the big pay-per-view matches that they're building for Survivor Series. They had the build-up in place, and they just kind of threw it away and was like, oh, well, because we wanted to send the fans home happy. So they get the pop of Undertaker and Kane, but you're kind of sacrificing the story to get that. Now, what I would have done would have been to have Undertaker and Kane, or at least just Undertaker, do one of his ominous warnings, like a video package or a voiceover or something like that, letting Bray Wyatt know he's coming for revenge and he's bringing help with him. And do something like, again, tease that they're going to do the Undertaker-Kane team up. We knew that Undertaker and Kane were going to team up for Survivor Series anyway, but kind of tease that, like, Undertaker acknowledges, all right, yeah, all 4 of you got me, but I'm going to go get some guys to come help me out and blah, 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 and then continue building the story there going forward. You don't have Undertaker and Kane just completely destroy the opposing side before you've done the pay-per-view match, because it just... you've basically done the ending to your story already. Why even do the match? The Wyatts have already gotten their asses kicked. The obstacle has been overcome. Revenge has been achieved. There's nothing to shoot for now. Like I said, if anything, it just makes the Wyatts the protagonists again, because it's like now they're the ones that are having to come back and face and take down Undertaker and Kane. It's like, all right, how are 2 of them going to take down Undertaker and Kane when they were able to beat the shit out of all 4 of them? They're the ones that have obstacles to overcome at this point, not Undertaker and Kane. They've already won. They've already, they got their revenge for what the Wyatts did to them. So it really hurt the drama in building up the story for the match by doing that, because it's kind of like they gave the fans what they wanted before even doing the match, which they shouldn't have done. They should... and they used to be really good at this. They should whet our appetite for wanting to see the match, and then do whatever it is they're going to do at the match, whatever ending they do. And I'm trying not to make it sound like it's like, oh, another old guy is beating up on a young guy, and oh, Bray Wyatt's being sacrificed to the wolves or whatever. I don't want it to go into that area, because I've beat that horse to death enough. But this is just like basic storytelling. You don't give away you don't have the bad guy look like a chump right before you do the climax to the story, and the match is supposed to be the climax, and that was just a major misstep, I think, and just completely unnecessary. I don't even know what was the point in even doing it, when you could have just had Undertaker and Kane stand there and on the entryway and stare them down and fade to black or something, or have, like, I don't know, just I'm just anything that prevents the Wyatts and Undertaker and Kane from having physical altercations before the pay-per-view match. And using an old school WWF example of how they did it really well, the original build-up to Undertaker and Kane back in 97, 98, part of what made that so good is that Undertaker never laid a hand on Kane. He came close to hitting him once, but other than that, because he was going through like actual character dilemma, like moral dilemmas. He's like, I won't fight my brother. I won't do it. So that forces Kane to go on a rampage to try and get Undertaker to fight him and all the stuff that happens there. But all the physical stuff was Undertaker getting wailed on by Kane. It was never Undertaker getting the upper hand and beating up on Kane. They never did that. It was always Kane physically dominating the Undertaker, who was unwilling to fight him. So then the story, they got months out of build-up of just making Undertaker getting his character developed to a point where he would want to fight Kane, and do that build up for WrestleMania. If they were booking that feud today, like, Undertaker would put Kane through a table in week 3 of the build up, and they would rush the match to the very next pay-per-view before getting it to... Well, they wouldn't do that now because Undertaker's a part-timer, but you get my idea. It's like Undertaker would come back from his hiatus, have a stare down, maybe get beat up by the new guy, and then he'd come back in 2 or 3 weeks and then beat up the new guy, and then they'd do the pay-per-view match or whatever. And it just wouldn't... Again, it wouldn't have the same mystique to it that that Undertaker-Kane build-up did. Or even other Undertaker stories where, Mabel and Yokozuna crushed his face. And this was in 1995, and the build-up was to Survivor Series 95, where Undertaker has a team and Mabel has a team, and this will be the first time that Undertaker and Mabel have confronted each other ever since Undertaker got his face crushed. And there was all these things like, what does Undertaker what does he look like now? What's going on with him? And then that was the pay-per-view where he debuted with the white skull mask as a protective face guard, but they went with that, and there was a lot of build-up in just, what's Undertaker going to look like at the pay-per-view, and what's going to happen when he gets his hands on Mabel. That was a good way to keep the story building, but without making Mabel look like a chump. And I'm not saying Undertaker versus Mabel was the greatest thing in the universe, but again, basic storytelling mechanics. They made the fans excited to see Undertaker at Survivor Series. And they managed to do it without having him beat the shit out of Mabel 2 or 3 times before the actual pay-per-view match. And that's something that they just constantly mess up. Like, if I were writing a wrestling show, not that I'm a genius or anything like that, I would always have the heels, like, kind of, if you ever do a physical altercation, which I would even keep those to a minimal, but if there was, like, a physical altercation between 2 pay-per-view opponents, I would almost always have the heel get the upper hand, because you don't want to have the bad guy, the antagonist, look like a chump before you do the match, and where he would, either continue building his heat by winning, or he would suffer his comeuppance, because you want the comeuppance to come at the pay-per-view match, or the big match that you're building to, or whatever. You don't want to give it away in a non-wrestling segment that that takes place 2 weeks before the pay-per-view. You don't want to do that. But that's just my take on the whole matter. Again, I'm not some kind of writing genius or creative mastermind or anything, but when I saw that whole segment go down, I was just thinking, man, kind of ruined the mystique of the Wyatt family there by doing that. Because, yeah, it's like, at first they were this unbeatable faction that was just truly dominating, and now it's like, oh, 2 guys can beat them up. Okay. I mean, granted, it's Undertaker and Kane, and they're, monsters or whatever, but, it is kind of like, you killed the drama for the pay-per-view match, and that's a bad thing. Very, very bad thing. But, yeah, that was, actually, if I had to compare it to something, it was, and this is a huge spoiler alert, so if you have not watched Arrow at all, stop watching this video right now, but it was kind of like in last season of Arrow, where they did the whole storyline where Oliver was forced into joining the League of Assassins, and they were doing this whole bit where it looked like he had been successfully brainwashed by Ra's al Ghul is the correct pronunciation, but whatever. Where Ra's al Ghul had successfully brainwashed Oliver, and Oliver was completely loyal to him. And then, like, 2 episodes, or like the episode or I think it was, I'm trying to remember. I think it was either the episode before the finale or 2 episodes before the finale. They revealed that Oliver was tricking him the whole time. And I was like, you gave it away. You gave away your fucking endings. It's like, and killed the entire drama, because there were moments after that, after they revealed to the audience that Oliver was just tricking him, there were moments where he was being all, like, violent and nasty towards his friends. And it's like, yeah, but you killed the drama, because we know he's putting on an act. You ruined it. You gave away your ending. And again, yeah, we all knew that Oliver was going to be ultimately come back to the good side or whatever, but by doing what they did, they completely kind of threw the drama completely off the rails, and that's what they did here with Undertaker and Kane versus the Wyatts, where at first they had a mystery of whether or not Undertaker and Kane would be able to stand up to the Wyatts, or who their partners would be, or what the 4-man team was going to look like. Instead, now it's kind of been established that Undertaker and Kane on their own can handle all 4 of them. So you've completely and they did this before the pay-per-view. So it really takes kind of the piss out. It kind of takes the piss out of the build-up for the pay-per-view itself. But whatever. I mean, it's Undertaker's 25th anniversary, and they've got that on all the posters and everything, and that's all they're selling it on. But I was like, I like my matches to have, like, a solid story behind it, and this one had a solid story initially, and they kind of just threw it away. But again, I don't know how much the Rollins injury played into that, but even with the Rollins injury, they didn't have to do what they did on Monday Night Raw. They could have had Undertaker and Kane establish that they were going to team up against the Wyatts without having to sacrifice the Wyatts to get that point across. That just, it killed the build-up to the story. But that's just me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a nitpicky little asshole. But yeah, that is all I have for now. I'll have more videos out for you sometime next week. But until then, see you all later.